scientific underpinnings of Sankhya ontology by Professor Laxmidhar Bahera, Director IIT Mandi. Before his talk, I would like to give a brief introduction about him. Professor Laxmidhar Bahera currently serves as the Director of IIT Mandi. Before this, he held the Poonam and Prabhu Goyal Chair Professorship in Department of Electrical Engineering at IIT Kanpur, concurrently serving as TCS affiliate faculty. With a background in electrical engineering, he earned his PhD from IIT Delhi in 1997 after completing his BSc Engineering and MSc Engineering from NIT Rourkela. Over 26 years, Professor Behra has made significant contributions of intelligent systems, control, vision-based robotics, brains-computer interface, and drones-based inspection systems. He has inspired thousands with his profound reflections on Indian knowledge system. Sir, I would invite you to please start your talk.
So I will give, the Bhagavad Sankhya. Sankhya is very popular in Indian tradition, but the Sankhya that was propounded by Kapila Muni, which is basically a materialistic, purely a materialistic representation of the creation. Whereas there is a Sankhya philosophy, and you can see here in this, this is being, in this picture, you see, this is Lord Kapila. So you can see here, this is Lord Kapila, and this is her mother, Devahuti. And he is speaking about Sankhya. But if you look at, the entirety of literature, Vedic literature, the Bhagavad Sankhya has a different perspective. And I would like to give that perspective before I go in details. So if you look at from Bhagavad perspective or Vedantic darshan, it is the undifferentiated absolute truth. Ekopi asau rachayitum jagadanda koti. Eka api asau. That means he is one without a second. He is undifferentiated. And this absolute truth, normally in Indian tradition, we try to describe in three forms. One is Brahman or cosmic intelligence. Second is Paramatma or the super soul. And third is Bhagavana. So this is there in Srimad Bhagavatam, where Sutta Goswami is saying that Brahmeti Paramatma iti Bhagavan iti sabdyate. Brahmeti Paramatma iti Bhagavan iti sabdyate. So that is absolute truth. And that's one absolute truth manifest in variegated and diverse forms. This is his opulence. This is his, natural potential. So in Gaudiya Vaishnava Vedanta, that was propounded by Sri Chaitanya Dev, we understand absolute truth has three energy. It's internal energy, marginal energies that contains all of us, unlimited jivas, okay, and external energy. External energy means normally we can very vaguely say this is material energy, but it is not the material energy the way we understand the material energy now. Now, if you look at this same absolute truth, when he expands himself and expands through his internal energy and along with his marginal energy as well, eternally he manifests a spiritual sky. And that spiritual sky has spiritual elements. And these spiritual elements are there to beautify the absolute truth. And In this, the activities that are enacted is known as divine pastimes of the absolute truth. And this is eternally undifferentiated. So this is one aspect of reality which is eternally undifferentiated, that is always existing. Whereas there is another one where same absolute truth, because of some stubbornness of this conditioned material energy, conditioned jivas, to engage them in a proper way, and with the help of his own external energy, he expands himself and manifests a material sky. And within that material sky, material elements, which in Sankhya we know 24 elements, those elements they manifest. But these elements, we have to recognize these elements, they hide the absolute truth from the vision of the jivas. So in one case, in spiritual sky, the absolute truth is self-evident. You don't need to prove, we say, where is God? Give me proof of God. That's because the way the material energy is manifesting within this material world, their nature is to hide our vision. This material energy cannot hide the absolute truth, but it can hide our vision of the absolute truth. Just like cloud cannot hide sun, but cloud can hide our vision of the sun. So this aspect of the material existence is explained through a darsana in Vedanta, which is called simultaneously one yet different. Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. That means this entire material universe is one with the absolute truth because it is his derivative, but simultaneously it is different because this part of the universe, they get annihilated again and again and again. Although they get annihilated, absolute truth remains himself without any change. So that sense, this is simultaneously one and different. This is a big philosophy. I will not go to that, how our Bhagavad Sankhya 24 elements can be discussed in terms of Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. That's a different discussion, but so what's happening here, this is called material pastime of the same absolute truth. So one is divine pastime, the other is material pastime. So this is how the Bhagavad Sankhya is present. Why I'm presenting it? Because anything we try to understand in this world, ultimately our perfection comes in our nearness or our understanding or internalization of the whole, the absolute truth. So that is why this particular big picture I gave. Now let's go to the tattvas. 25 elemental tattva. What is this element? Let me tell you. In science, at some point of time, we were told hydrogen, helium, nitrogen, these kind of periodic elements, the tables from periodic animals, they are the elemental truth. You combine them and then everything manifests. All 8.4 million varieties of life forms they manifest. And this is, although a hypothesis, but we have not been able to explain the life forms using this thing. Similarly, in Sankhya philosophy, we talk about 24 elements, and in this 24 elements, we start with Pancha Karmendriya, Pancha Gyanendriya, Pancha Tanmatras, and then you have five Pancha Mahabhuta, great elements, earth, water, air, ether. And then you have, so this is 20 and 20, four elements are Ahankara, Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, and Chitta. And finally, the in popular Sankhya doesn't discriminate between the absolute consciousness or cosmic consciousness and individual consciousness. But Bhagavad Sankhya makes a distinction of this. But the purpose of looking at the creation in terms of these elements is to develop a relationship between individual consciousness and the universal consciousness. So this is where the normal Sankhya and the Bhagavad Sankhya fundamentally differs. If you look at the what happens before the millions of universes came into being, is that I showed you in the first slide, there is absolute truth. He is always existing, and his spiritual pastimes are continuously happening, and that world is existing. And this millions of world are actually reflection. The physical world is actually reflection of those spiritual existence. That's why Urdhva Moolam Adho Sakham Aswatham Prahurabhyam. This is the 15th chapter Bhagavad Gita, first verse. So when the agitated living entities, they want to be Kriyasila, that means they want to be activated, they want to be active, that is when this material energy or the external energy of the absolute truth takes the shape of pradhana. So what is pradhana? Pradhana is that material energy which is undifferentiated material energy, but this is not only material energy. In this material energy, the absolute truth has already entered there. The unlimited jivas have already entered there. But still, it is in an equilibrium state. It has unlimited potency to manifest. That form is pradhana. When the cause and effect are not clearly manifested, and the reaction of the total elements does not take place, that stage of material nature is called pradhan. Pradhan is not the time element, because in the time element there are actions and reactions, creation and annihilation. Nor is it the jiva or a marginal potency of living entities or designated conditioned living entities, because the designation of living entities are not eternal. Sum total of 24 elements, pradhan, is also described as Yonir Mahad Brahma. It is the source of birth and subsistence of all living entities. So let me explain to you in Bhagavad Sankhya, when Lord Kapila speaks about these elements, before the universe formally manifests and Lord Brahma is born from the navel portion of Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, these elements are already existing. They are very subtle. And these elements are already existing. That means one undivided energy is getting divided in the form of 24 elements. It's like, you see, when you see an egg, the egg is undifferentiated, right? But same egg when you put into some condition, that gets transformed to an alligator, a bird, and varieties of living entities they generate from the egg. So Pradhan is that kind of a notion, but in the very beginning of the creation, before the creation started. So, so unlike Sankhya Karika, Bhagavad Sankhya differentiate cosmic intelligence and individual intelligence. This is very important to understand. There are two existences. One is whole, the other is part. Both are eternal. So, if you go a little deeper in terms of Bhagavad Sankhya, we always talk about the subject and object, experiencer and experience. Experience is about 5 tanmatras: Sabda, Sparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are we call object. And experiencer, while in material science we literally throw away the experiencer aspect of the experience. Without, see, experience and experiencer together makes the cognitive aspect of creation. But unfortunately, by creating a duality between experiencer and experience, we kill the cognitive aspect of the creation. So you can see in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.26 to 12 to 13, so how 5 cognitive elements they manifest. That is, sound is the information, a subtle information, and that requires a carrier, which is ether, one of the 5 great elements, and that has to be experienced, sense of ear, sense of hearing, together makes first cognitive element called sound perception. So we have sound perceptual space, then tactile perceptual space, visual perceptual space, taste perceptual space, smell perceptual space. And these 5 perceptual space is a primary to understand any functionality of varieties of living organism. And then we have 4 internal subtle senses. Srimad Bhagavatam talks about 3:26.14, mind, intelligence, false ego, and chitta. Chitta is pure cognition, emanates from consciousness. Whereas that pure cognition gets perverted by its association with the material energy. And that interaction happens at the level of ahankara. We know in Bhagavad Sankhya that it is the Mahatattva, which is the sum total of 24 elements, that carries the cosmic intelligence. First take the shape of ignorance in the form of false ego. The purpose, as I told you in the beginning, the purpose of this material creation is to hide our perception of the absolute truth. And this is what is happening. So we have 5 working senses, and so 5 knowledge acquiring. So these are all details. Let me go to the, so you see here, these elements, although they started from undivided, one undivided thing, becoming many, right? So this is something we have to understand. Eko bahunam, nityo nityanam, chetanas chetananam, eko bahunam, yo vidadhati kama. Eko bahunam. He is one, he is becoming many, and he alone sustains everyone. So these different elements, they are known by their different function in relation to higher order state, like mano buddhi ahankara chittam iti antaratmakam chaturdha lakhyate bhedo vritya lakshana rupaya. Vritya lakshana rupaya. So mana, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, these are very subtle things. And to be able to experience these subtle things, mana, buddhi, ahankara, chitta, we need to practice. As a human being, I must be able to reside beyond senses, transcend senses, and still be able to live in different subtle levels until I progress myself to my pure state, which is called Atman. So that is why fundamentally our Vedanta darshan is different from all other darshana, because here the subject matter compels us to experience the truth through pratyaksha pramana. That means I must not speculate, but I must transcend myself from different level of my existence, from sensuous to mental to intellectual to false ego, and beyond false ego to pure consciousness. So here the 25th element. So you saw 5 Panchamahabhuta, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 tanmatras 20, and 4 subtle elements, mana, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta 24. Now this is 25th, time. The mixing element, which is known as time, is counted as the 25th element. Etavan eva sankhyato brahmana sa gunasyaha sannivesa maya proktaha ya kalaha panchabimsakaha. Panchabimsaka means 25th. Kalaha, time. So time element carries the will of the Lord. Time normally has 2 aspects. One is experiential aspect of time, where we have the experience of past, present, and future. And the other is time unfolds the material events, right? And that aspect of time that unfolds material event is the most powerful than any form of the material elements that we know. That is 24. So time is superior to all other 24 elements, material elements. And so that's why time is known as internal potency of the absolute truth. So it's also written, Antaha Purusa Rupena, Kala Rupena, Yovahi. That is, the absolute truth, it is residing within every atom, within every living entity, as Paramatma. So that is inside. And outside, same absolute truth resides as time. And it is most powerful. And in Bhagavad Sankhya it says, all this what I'm discussing is happening before the universe came into being, before Brahma is born, and forget about other living entities. So all these 24 elements, including time, they enter into Pradhan, and they create the Mahadhyoni, from which unlimited universes they come out, as well as unlimited living entities in 8.4 million species they come out. So, first Mahatattva manifests itself in the form of false ego, Ahankara. And that Ahankara has three divisions. Ahankara in Sattva, Ahankara in Rajas, Ahankara in Tamas. So this Ahankara in Sattva gives rise to mind. Ahankara in Sattva gives rise to bodies of 33 crore gods and demigods. They are very powerful because their body is this Mahatattva transformed into Ahankara. Ahankara is that which has the ability to hide the absolute truth. And in the form of Sattva, it manifests mind of every living entity. And of course, originally it is cosmic mind. So, this has to be understood properly. And then Rajas, same Ahankara in Rajas, creates cosmic intelligence. Same Ahankara in Tamas starts creating material elements starting from sound. So, the sound is the first material element that comes from Ahankara imbued with Tamas. And from sound, all 5 Tanmatras, 5 Gyanendriya, 5 Karmendriya, and Pancha Mahabhuta, 24 elements, 20 elements, they manifest Mahatattva in the form of false ego, Ahankara, imbued with Tamas, gives rise to these 20 elements. So that is how, before the beginning of the creation, we are speculating about Big Bang theory, thinking there is a point with infinite pressure, infinite energy, a hypothesis. But in Bhagavad Sankhya, in detail, the whole thing is given. And we need to analyze this scientifically. Okay? So you can see here in 3.26.25, Sahasra Sirasam Sakhyat Yam Anantam Prachakhyate Sankarshanakhyam Purusham Bhutendriya Manomayam. The threefold Ahankara, the source of gross elements, the senses and mind, is identical with them because it is their cause. It is known by the name of Sankarsana, who is directly Lord Ananta with 1,000 heads. Similarly here, Parasya Drishyate Dharmo hi aparasmin samannayat ato vishesa bhavanam gumau eva upalakhyate. Since the cause exists in its effect as well, the characteristics of the former are observed in the latter. That is why the peculiarities of all elements exist in the earth alone. So let me explain to you a little bit about Achintya Veda, Veda Tattva that is being discussed here. So the last element that is manifesting before even universe manifested is Bhutatva. Bhutatva that carries smell. So these are there in the original primordial soup. In original primordial soup, there is sound, there is touch, there is form, there is taste as well as smell. And also 5 great elements, earth, water, air, fire, ether. So they are there. And there, but what is meaning of this element, let me tell you. The elemental creation, that is Bhutatva, comes from water Tattva. So, because Bhutatva is coming from water Tattva is also there in Bhutatva. Jala Tattva is there in Bhutatva. But Bhutatva gets dissolved in water Tattva when you take away the smell from Bhutatva. The potency of Bhutatva comes from the information that it carries, which is smell. You take away the smell from it, it merges into the water. So in that sense, water and bhutattva are same, but simultaneously different. Why? Because bhutattva can be withdrawn and it resides in the water. Similarly, water can be withdrawn, it resides in fire. Fire can be withdrawn, it resides in touch. Touch can be withdrawn and it resides in sound. Sound can be withdrawn, it resides in false ego. False ego can be withdrawn. What resides is absolute spiritual conscious being. So, original conscious being simultaneously is one with all these differentiated energy levels, but yet it is different because all these things can be annihilated, and what remains always is the absolute consciousness. So this is something that we need to understand. So this false ego is characterized as the doer, as an instrument, as an effect. So this is 3.26.26 in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes we ask this question, do we have a free will? So the question is here, as far as material wranglings is concerned, there is no free will. Material wranglings are happening as per the nature of false ego. Whether false ego in goodness, false ego in passion, false ego in ignorance. Based on that, the actions are automatically carried away. So what is free will? Free will is something very, very tiny within every living entity. Is that to be able to recognize the source of all these elements and be attached to that source. So Vedanta Darshan is all about whole and part. Part is meant to please the whole. Then we will have a very symbiotic world. We will have a sustainable world. Anybody who understands this concept, the outcome will be a very highly civilized world that is sustainable, spiritually connected, and a happy society. So, as I have already told you, mind, as I told you, mind is produced from ahankara and sattva, and one starts with cosmic mind. What is cosmic mind? Cosmic mind takes care of all other minds. We have 8.4 million species, and they have different desires, and cosmic minds caters to all the desires of all the living entities in 8.4 million species. And one of the action of mind is always, function is acceptance, sankalpa and vikalpa. Sankalpa and vikalpa. Accept and reject. Accept and reject. So this is the, this requires more analysis, but anyway. And similarly, I have already told you, transparency, false ego and passion gives rise to intelligence, doubt, misapprehension, correct apprehension, memory and sleep, as determined by their different functions, are said to be the distinct characteristics of intelligence. Similarly, egoism in mode of passion produces two kinds of senses, senses of acquiring knowledge and senses of action. In fact, mode of passion gives rise to all 20 elements as we understand. So this is the tamasa ahankara, gives rise to all the 20 elements that we talked about. So now, this is already there. Now the question is, how do we also use this? So there are two things. Vyavaharik, that means understanding this 24 element with respect to the absolute truth. How can we change our vichara and vyavahara? Vichara means the way we think, and vyavahara means our way of lifestyle. So this is See, Indian system or Vedanta Darshan is not simply armchair speculation. It is meant to be the way of life. So one is Vichara and Vyavahara, which normally we focus more. And second is that how can we improve the scientific understanding of the physical world such that we can make this physical world more sustainable and more symbiotic. So this is two aspects. So if you look at, try to understand from the scientific perspective, what is missing is, see, if you look at the current scientific thing, meaning is the epiphenomenon. Okay? Purpose and meaning. Any material creation has a purpose. A meaning is inherent in it. Right? But this is not there within current empirical science. We talk about atom, molecules, but where is the meaning there? For example, I am speaking to you. While speaking to you, I am conveying a lot of meaning through it. And this meaning is not simply atoms and molecules. So the idea here is that in Bhagavad Sankhya, when you look at things, we have 4 communication. Super soul to soul. This is the para communication or transcendental communication. Soul to subtle body, Pashyanti communication. Subtle body to gross body, Madhyama communication. And gross body to another gross body is Vaikhari communication. Right? So the way one level of material energy is communicating to another way of material energy, that requires a scientific understanding of semantic entanglement. Because if there is a communication, that means there is also an undifferentiated coexistence of these 24 elements. They are differentiable, yet they are yet undifferentiated. And that happens through semantic entanglement. And what is the semantic entanglement? Okay. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.13.17, the sages are asking, the sages headed by Saunaka, not Saunaka, said, O Lord, people's mind are naturally attracted to material sense object. Similarly, the sense object in the form of desire enter within the mind. Therefore, how can a person who desires liberation, who desires to cross over activities of sense gratification, destroy this mutual relationship between sense object and the mind? Please explain to us. That means there is a semantic entanglement between mind. Just like we have a quantum object behaves differently than classical object. Mind is even subtler than the so-called quantum object. We need to understand. And the causal capacity of mind is much more than the causal capacity of atoms and molecules. So, for example, quantum entangled, we recently, some scientists 2 years back got Nobel Prize in quantum entanglement. So what is quantum entanglement? This happens because 2 states have shared existence. That means 2 quantum objects, when they're entangled, if you disturb one, the other is automatically disturbed. You don't have to disturb it. They have a shared existence. And if this is true at the level of atomic level, I am talking about mind, which is even subtler than atom. We know probably at best how to manipulate an atom according to our understanding. But let me tell you, the personalities, like in our literature, they are not mythological characters, they are real. Where it is Brahma, Saraswati, Durga, all these personalities, They have the ability to manipulate these 24 elements properly. They have the ability. So we are not simply saying these elements were existing in the primordial soup before the existence came into being. But then there were beings, they were capable of also manipulating these elements, just like we are now manipulating an atom. So let me give you a complete framework in which we understand a cognitive element. Every individual is a cognitive element. I as a human being is a cognitive element. A plant as a whole is a cognitive element. Any organism, whether it is C. elegans, mosquito, blade of grass, birds, beast, all of them individually a cognitive element. So this cognitive element, its basis is atomic conscious unit, and it gets entangled with mind. When I say mind, here it refers to this subtle body consisting of mind, intelligence, and false ego, and that gets entangled through the medium of chitta. And this needs to be understood. So consciousness and mind are entangled, and this entanglement is possible. They don't get entangled automatically. They get entangled by the arrangement of the super soul. So there are an external. That's why we say everything that is manifesting is undifferentiated aspect of the absolute truth, because he alone brings his own element coming from his own energy and binds it in a specific way. And this, you can see mind, which I call here, mind means mind, intelligence, and false ego together. They are entangled. They get entangled with the body, the gross body, which is made up of flesh, blood, bone, and blah 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 blah, and they get entangled. And this entanglement, if you see here, body appears to be matter. That's how allopathy treats our body. It's a pure physical matter. But body is not isolated from the mind. Mind is entangled with the body. And hence, mind, body together is the aspect of cognitive matter. And when we look at the complete thing, that is atomic conscious unit, mind and body together, this is a pure cognition that is being hidden from the self-evident absolute truth. That is the model of cognition that Bhagavad Sankhya presents. So let me come to the end. Here you can see some of the research that we have already started at IIT Mandi is evolution of material perceptual space. We just finished working fertilizing a C. elegans egg, and we are now able to see under the microscope the complete evolution of a C. elegans egg into a complete C. elegans. So now we are using a scientific technology to color or put different biomarkers for understanding the different perceptual space, how they are evolving in embryonic state. And the objective is to verify the way Bhagavad Sankhya gives details of this evolution of perceptual space at embryonic level of every living organism and embryonic level of the universe as well. So this can be verified. This is something that we are doing. So if you look at thing, our Jyotiranjan Bahera, he is working on this aspect, how mind simultaneously, which is actually uh, a non-local element. See, this non-locality is not a new idea that quantum science has brought. Non-locality is already there in our Bhagavad Sankhya. In Bhagavad Sankhya, it says mind simultaneously gets entangled with 5 tanmatras, 5 panchamahabhutas. The concept of Sukma Indriya is already there in Bhagavad Sankhya. Sukma Indriya is there, is that where the sense and mind, they're entangled. So you can see mind is same urja, same unity of the mental element that is simultaneously existing in all these 5 tanmatras. And that is why we have a holistic experience of everything that we experience. An object has to be experienced completely when these 5 tanmatras are coagulated. Otherwise, you cannot have a complete sense of anything. So this is something that our Jyotiranjan Bahera is working. So mind entangled matter, which we call cognitive matter. That means where this mental energy, which is a reflection of the pure cognition, gets entangled with our physical body, and this can be studied. We are studying at IIT Mandi in the form of investigation into bioswitches for consciousness, right? So we to plant to see elegance, we are administering the anesthesia, both general anesthesia, local anesthesia, and trying to see, is there a non-local element within our biological body? So we are searching for a non-local element, and I believe there is a non-local element, because if we understand this science to be true, there has to be a non-local element. So this is something we have to carry out. Similarly, idea of semantic space and semantic entanglement, and then creating simulation model to create laws of psychology. Psychology, as of now, is subservient to laws of physics, chemistry, and biology. But if you look at our Bhagavad Sankhya, the laws of psychology should be superset of laws of biology, physics, and chemistry. So this is also another area that we can do research. Study of reincarnation, because one of the things of Bhagavad Sankhya, that it is not that I will have this human body all the time. No, this body at this moment will have maximum 100 years, and after that I'll get another body. Depending on my karma. So these are the things also we can study, particularly study of sleep and dream would shed bigger light into this. And of course, ICAS intervention and mental health, which we are doing at IIT Mandi also. Satsanga, yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, organic farming, community service, how they have effect on mental health. Mental health is a big problem. So with that, I will come to an end. Thank you very much.